2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy. The best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
As a betrayed partner, why would I sabotage real recovery?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing?
Doing great. Woke up, got the dailies in, and feeling ready to go today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It was good seeing you last night.
I know. I love Sunday dinners. It's been really nice. You know, we only do it once a month nowadays, but it's always good to see everybody.
Yeah, it's just kind of chill and seeing the kids, just watching the kids grow up before our eyes, you know?
I know. We're so old now.
I know. I was golfing this weekend.
Kids are driving.
I was golfing this weekend, and I had this like little chip shot. It was like 25 yards. And it was a simple little light shot, and I like tweaked my hand and like sprained my hand.
You'd have to go get like physical therapy for a golf shot.
For a little chip shot. It wasn't even a drive.
Oh. And my daughters say golf isn't a sport.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to do, right?
Yeah, we got a couple things to cover today. Actually, finally, we are past the deadline for the cutoff for the Rising Sun drawing for guests who've come on the show. So we've got all the names here. We're going to do our drawing today.
Moment of truth today.
Yeah. So maybe we should just start with that first, Brannon. Does that sound all right?
Yeah. Hold it up above your head. I want
no looking, no peeking.
No looking. Mix it up.
So just a reminder for what this is. This is for we've been doing a drawing for the last couple of months now on anyone who signed up to become a caller on the show, even if they hadn't come on yet. So there are a couple of the names that are in here are actually people who have signed up that are still going to come on.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyone who signed up to come on the show has a name in the drawing right now, and this is for a pass to the Rising Sun retreat, which is September 19th through the 22nd, and so let's just do that first, shall we?
Do it. Let's do
All
it.
Right.
Drum roll.
Let's see. Drum roll.
Here we go.
Name here. What do we got? We have Rob Anderson. So we'll be reaching out to Rob. Congratulations. Hopefully you can use it, or you know somebody that will. And we're grateful that you've been, willing to come and be a part of our show.
Congrats, Rob. That's awesome.
Yeah. We'll be reaching out to you for everyone else who was in the drawing and everyone else of our listeners. We've mentioned this before. We're getting down to it now. We've put a discounted rate on the website at risingsun.org, risingson.org. And right now there's a discounted rate that's only going to be available for just a short period of time longer. And the reason we did that was partly for all these other people who've been in the drawing that didn't just get their name called. We still want you to be able to come at a discount. But any of our listeners who are listening, now's the time. Get in, get signed up. We would love to see you there. It is kind of like, it's the top part of what Brannon and I do. We get to meet everybody in person and do some really amazing work over that weekend. So
yeah, come on out and come see beautiful Utah. It's amazing,
especially that time of year.
Yeah. So, okay, Tyler, anything else? Oh, risingsun.org, SON, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, should we get into this topic?
Let's go, Brannon. Why don't you kick it off? You were kind of saying that you're noticing this, and I think I agree with you. I see it quite a bit. Let's break it down a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, this comes from one of my roles with work now, which I love, is I get to supervise other therapists, and we do staffings every week, which means the therapists bring their cases to the meeting so that they can, the really tough cases, so that they can talk through and get some guidance and counsel on where do I go with this and what do I do. And it's interesting because I'll have anywhere from 3 to 6 therapists sitting around as we talk about certain things. But it's interesting, a lot of the same couples come up again and again and again and again, and the same patterns again and again. And a lot of times what I hear is that things aren't getting better. And as I listen, both partners will sabotage recovery and throw things in the way so that real vulnerability and intimacy doesn't start to happen in the relationship. But it's interesting to me, and we wanted to talk specifically about the betrayed partner. When we talk about recovery in terms of the relationship and individual recovery, why would a partner sabotage recovery? Why would a partner, they're paying money to come to therapy. They're in a lot of pain. They're not happy, oftentimes with the relationship and oftentimes within themselves. So why sabotage it? And in what ways does sabotage happen? I think sometimes unconsciously that's going on. People don't even realize they're doing it, but they're doing it. So I guess my question to you is just to start with those things, is why would somebody sabotage recovery? And in what ways do people sabotage recovery?
Great question. So just to be clear, we're kind of focusing on the betrayed side today, even though we would all agree that a lot of the people that we work with that are struggling with like the compulsive behavior or the addiction, they're famous for figuring out how to sabotage their own recovery, right?
Yeah.
So it does happen on both sides, but we're talking today more specifically on the betrayed side of things and trying to climb out of that hole of having been betrayed, dealing with the trauma, wanting to move into new life, new healing, sort of post-traumatic growth, and rebuilding the relationship, right? Because at the heart of almost every spouse's concerns, especially when they're staying in the relationship, is they actually want to rebuild the relationship and have it be something better or new than what they were coming from.
Tyler, I think I believe in the people that listen to our podcast. Like, I think our audience is mature. And when we have these type of discussions, we know that it can trigger like, oh, you're victim blaming, or yeah, you just say I'm the problem or whatever. This somebody who's mature, who actually wants to work recovery, will understand that this isn't about blame. We're not trying to blame anybody. It's about consciousness. It's about becoming aware. Am I, and somebody who's in a deep state of sabotage,
they may not even be aware of it.
They might hate this episode.
Yeah.
Because they're not aware of it. They don't want to move forward. They don't want to get better. And so to hear some of these things could really rub them wrong and not be very comfortable for them.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you said, because you said they don't want to move forward and they don't want to get better, but when you meet with them in person, they'll tell you, absolutely, I want to move forward and I want to get better. And then when it comes to the rubber meeting the road on what the work is that would mean moving forward, that's where they get bogged down and say, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like it's in a certain sense, it's like, whether it's conscious or subconscious, it becomes a case of the little red hen story, which is like, I want to eat the baked bread, but I don't want to do the things that it takes to grind the wheat, to make the flour, to mix the ingredients, to bake the bread, to have the bread. Because, and this is what we're going to get into today, is why? Like, what is it that leads to that sort of like halting point? And I'll just say this from like my perspective with a lot of the clients that I work with, I see this happen frequently where, you know, you like, if I were to give kind of a typical sort of progress report with a partner, say you're married to a partner who actually does start to work their own recovery. So your betrayer or your addicted partner actually does start to work their recovery. What will typically happen for a betrayed spouse is they walk through the door and first they're just kind of like swimming in, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know up from down in the relationship. Their world has been shaken, rocked, big time trauma sometimes. They don't know if they're safe anymore to stay or to go. They're trying to discern what to do. And the first beginning part of treatment is really just kind of getting reoriented and regrounded. It's like, let's get you breathing again. Let's get oxygen to your brain. Let's get you thinking. Let's get your feet planted emotionally. Let's get you grounded. Let's get you some tools to kind of like regulate the emotions so that we can start to make decisions moving forward from a grounded place. And we teach tools and, you know, we address that like initial part of the trauma. I call it like triage work to begin with, because it's just like when somebody's bleeding out, you got to stop the bleeding. Right. That's what we try to do. Right. But after that, then it starts to turn to, okay, what do I need to do to live my best life, to deal with the demons in my own closet, to make peace with the things that have happened to me, to work towards things like, you know, the principles of wholehearted living with honesty and integrity and healthy boundaries, and eventually the process of working on letting go, surrender, forgiveness, all of that stuff.
Right.
And a lot of the partners that I work with will kind of get into that kind of work. And then that's where, as they get into that work, they experience a whole bunch of growth. They start to feel safe enough in their relationship now, and their quote boundaries are maybe holding things in place for them in a way that they think is now at least safe enough. And then that's where a lot of the partners that I work with start to kind of like hit a plateau. Mm-hmm. They start to stall out, and then they'll come in after, you know, several months, and they'll start saying, I can't seem to move forward in my recovery. Like, I know they'll even say in behind closed doors, they won't tell their partners this, but I know he's in recovery. Like, I actually see that my partner is doing their work, and it kind of actually like bugs me and it scares me because I'm still miserable and I don't know what to do with this now. Mm-hmm. And then that's where the next level comes in, is like they need to be going through their grieving process of dealing with anger, sadness, loss, you know, surrender. And that work almost feels like it starts to make me push them backwards because they've been scrambling to find solid footing for so long. And the next step in the recovery process is to actually, in some ways, step back off the edge of another cliff. Mm-hmm. To take the risks of faith and belief and, heaven forbid, pieces of trust again, and, you know, looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, what about me do I need to work on that's making me so triggered about all of these things? Like, what about, and that work is really, really difficult work to do.
Yep. I think what at kind of the heart of this and everything you just said is, we think, like, we have this illusion where we believe that being comfortable means that you're in a good place. That and so how this plays out with what you just said is, like, if I'm bumping along in my relationship, like I'm just bumping along and I'm oblivious to certain things, or I don't really want to address certain things because they're too uncomfortable. And then my partner goes out and cheats on me. All of a sudden, like it kind of throws in my face some things to work on. I am uncomfortable, like very uncomfortable. And like I said, it betrayal is an opportunity for an individual to look within. I know that's hard to hear some, but like if you betrayed me, Tyler, as my brother, I could very easily stay stuck on you. Why would he do it? He's horrible. He's awful. But if I had all kinds of feelings, if I had all kinds of things going on inside of me around it, that's opportunity for me to get to know me.
Yeah, what is it that's causing this response in me? And yeah, let me understand myself better. And what do I need to make peace with here?
That work is uncomfortable. That work is hard. That's like looking deep within yourself to say, who am I? How do I show up in relationships? What is my attachment like? What's my relationship with God like? How are my boundaries? How is it that I love myself and know myself? Because let's say you betrayed me, that helps me, that pushes me to either look at those things or to really try not to look at those things. Like, I don't want to look at those things because so in order to try not to look at those things because this thing is now there, I then deflect. I make it about you. I avoid. I try not to go there. Right.
Yeah, right, Brannon. I think maybe it would be good to outline just a couple of things, a couple of the motivations for why we might sabotage our own recovery in this process and the ways that we do it.
Yeah.
As you're talking, there's one of the ways that we typically do it, and you've brought this up, but this is a really common one that I see, is that I'll be working with a partner and they will start to actually dive into their work, and they'll kind of start to stretch themselves, and they start to get into some of the sort of like dark places of their own lives, and it scares them. And they go, oh, like, I don't know if I want to go there yet. I like maybe past other childhood trauma or false beliefs that they've been carrying, or a wrestle with the higher power that they need to now jump into and do that's kind of scary because it feels unsteady. And what they'll often do is when they get there, it's almost like they feel the cool breeze coming out of the cave, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, like there's a dragon in there. Like, I don't know. And what they'll do, instead of going, I don't know if I'm ready to do this work, they'll turn around and they'll be like, I got to figure out what's still wrong with my partner. What's wrong with him? Like, he's still not doing enough meetings, or he's still lying to me in these little ways, or he's still doing this. And they'll put a big form of like distraction back on. And sometimes a partner makes it easy. It's like, yeah, they're not doing their recovery work or whatever, but sometimes they're actually doing really solid recovery work. And it's like, the target is still there. So anytime that cool breeze starts to come out of the cave and the dragon's breath can start to be felt again, it's like, yeah, but he's still doing this. Like, and he's gonna, and look at all the things he's done. Look at the way he's hurt me. And he can never hurt me. Like, I can never hurt him the way he's hurt me, and da 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 da. And they want to put the focus back on, he needs to fix himself. You need to fix him. Let's focus on him, and
Yep.
And it doesn't, and then it prevents it. It like dams their progress right when they're on the edge of stepping into the place where the healing's going to happen.
Right. Which puts them in a really tough position because, the hyper focus on the partner, that's probably the most common one. But it puts them in a really tough position because what they do is they take they take what's not in their control and they make their recovery about that. I want to control my partner. I want to, he better do this. He better do that. He better do all these things, versus what real recovery is, which is understanding what is in my control. That's me. That's my healing. What's in my control? The way that I respond to whatever he's doing, for good or bad. But, how do I show up in my power? How do I show up with peace in my purpose and my power and knowing who I am? That's independent of the partner. Even though the partner has done whatever, horrific things or betrayed or whatever, that is independent of the partner. And I think There's a couple reasons for it. One is it's the bull in the china closet. If a partner goes and betrays and hurts, and it's
Of
like,
course.
ouch, ouch,
Yes.
that hurts.
He kicked over the closet. There's a bunch of broken china.
Right.
Yeah.
Two, it's one of the most effective forms of avoidance of doing your own work is I can hyper focus there, and I can hide behind them. And we see this both ways, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can hyper focus there. I can hide behind them. So so it's like, well, but if they start to get better over there, yikes! Like, where do I hide? Like,
I almost don't want them to get better.
I don't want them to get
because
better
the target starts to shrink as they get better.
Yeah.
And it's like, uh-oh. It's like playing hide and seek with a 3-year-old, and they're hiding behind this little like pole thinking they're hidden. And it's like, no. Oh no, this pole's getting like smaller and smaller, like, but you can't see me.
Right.
Right.
All the while saying, I want the pole to get smaller. Like,
I want it.
I want my partner to get better. I want recovery, but I don't, because yikes, what does that mean
Scary.
for me in my work and what I do? So,
it means there's risk involved. I mean, they start to sense this and like, oh, I've just spent the better part of my recovery trying to climb back out onto solid ground, and now that I'm on some kind of semblance of solid ground, I'm having to look over the edge of that and go, dang it, there's more ocean to swim here. And I don't know if I can trust it yet, one way or the other, whether I'm staying in the relationship or not. And this is something I think is important that you brought up when you were talking earlier, Brannon, is the opportunity that comes with the betrayal. And now that's in the open is that it gives you the opportunity now to learn about yourself and what you will and you won't accept and tolerate in a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that bogs people down. That's the second thing that bogs people down, is that some people that I work with already know that they're in the wrong relationship, but they don't want to accept having to go through letting the relationship go. And they're afraid that if they do their own work, they develop their own self-respect, they grow into something new, they're going to make decisions, and the boundaries will naturally follow that would say, this relationship is either going to change drastically or it's not going to be what it is right now.
I don't know how many times, like, where the person, their gut has like really spoken to them, like their gut feel, their intuition, it's clear, their truths are there and they know it. And it's like, if they know that, but that reality that their gut is telling them is painful and hard, then you have to put that intuition aside and that gut feel aside. And so then it's okay, like, I don't want to actually get clear and conscious and healthy and in my power here, because if that happens, I have to resonate in truth.
And the truth might mean deep loss.
Pain and change and all of those things. And so I'm going to actually avoid the truth and create chaos elsewhere and distraction elsewhere, because deep down, I know what's true.
I know it's true. And that's for staying or going in the relationship and putting myself wholeheartedly into it again, or having to set the boundaries that might break the relationship. Either one of those. And here's the thing about both of these kinds of ways of denial and behaviors that stop the progress, is that then it tacks on another thing, because in both situations, your heart then goes to war with yourself for not following the truth inside. And then when your heart goes to war with yourself, in a certain sense, you're now sort of crooked from your own values. And most often what we do is we double down on all of the other reasons why it's okay that we went crooked, instead of getting back to getting straight and going, I got to follow my gut. I got to follow my values. I've got to act with courage in these moments of whatever it is that I need to do, whether that's to lean back into my partner a little bit more or set different boundaries with them. And so not only is it the scary part of what decisions they have to make, but now they have to deal with the erosion of self that goes on because their heart's at war with the decisions that they're making.
Yeah, the lack of congruency like eats at them. But to correct it's really hard to get accountable. It's hard to admit that, yes, I've been in this stage of sabotage. I've been doing this over and over again. It's really hard to own that. And so then you double down yet again with all the distractions and all the things. And a good therapist, Tyler, it puts a good therapist in a tough position, because a good therapist will do everything they can in a very delicate or blunt or whatever way they need to get the client to see themselves that, hey, I am sabotaging here. And a good therapist won't let the sabotage continue. Will reflect back the truth and hold that line with a client, and then put it back on them to say, like, hey, own what you're creating here, or help you see what you're creating here, right?
Yeah, and even as you're talking, Brannon, there's a part of me, and I think maybe a lot of our listeners that are listening right now that are hearing that, and it's back into what you were saying, like what you're asking them to do is in some ways monumental, and it goes against everything societally that we believe about justice. Because is what you, in essence, I'm going to rephrase your words. I'm going to let you restate it differently again one more time, because I think what you said is important. What it sounds like you're saying is, even though he's the one that hurt me, you're the one holding yourself back from your healing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, every time.
But that doesn't seem fair.
Life's not fair. Like, yeah, but that's beautiful. It's because that gives me opportunity to choose to move forward and heal or not. I'm not dependent upon or waiting for anybody. And now it is different in terms of a relationship. The relationship takes two people to heal. The individual doesn't. The individual takes one. And a person can go from a person who really struggles with healthy attachment and creating love in their life, to doing their own work, to being a very healthily attached person who ends up divorced, or whatever it is, like separated, right? So yeah, that's true.
So the goal of recovery work isn't only to just save a marriage. The goal of recovery work, maybe on both sides, is for two people to come to know more fully who they are exactly, go to work on their own weaknesses, and in doing so, if both people do that, it gives an opportunity for two well-attached people to have a good relationship.
Let me see if I can use like an analogy. So something I learned early on in business was to have a mission, have a vision, and businesses that have a mission, that like get really good at doing something, right? They create something amazing. And oh, by the way, because they did that, they make some good money. Now, businesses who just want to make good money and then try to fit in like whatever thing they need to fit in order to make money, those are the ones that fail. And so you focus on the wrong thing and you end up with failure. So relationships is the same thing. I want a good relationship. I want love. I want my partner to not reject me. I want all these things. Well, guess what? If you're totally focused there and that's your expectations, then that's not what you're going to create. And it's interesting what you're saying, Tyler, because the only way to save your marriage is to let your marriage go and to do your individual work so that you can be strong enough to create a healthy relationship. The only way for real justice to be served when somebody has betrayed is for healthy boundaries and real consequences to come. And when you get in these sabotage, fear cycle-y things, those things don't happen because it's easy. When you're sabotaging, it's easy for the partner to hide behind you. Look how unhealthy you are. Look what you're doing. We're not getting any better. And you're both stuck at this low level.
The lowest wavelength possible is where two people are looking across from each other, pointing the finger at one another and going like,
it's a race to the bottom.
As soon as you're good, I'll be good.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom. And so like, Tyler, I'm an advocate for justice. I'm an advocate for empowerment. of an individual. And I love when healthy relationships get created. Um, we put the healthy relationship or just a relationship as the focus, such a distraction from actual recovery. And it's a great way to sabotage recovery.
Yeah, and that's good, Brannon. So in essence, there's a dialectic here in what I was asking, what you're saying. Yes, there's validity in the pain that you feel and the injustice that has been done, and that's the reality of your situation, and you still have the power to create something out of it. It's both. So the pain is valid. Like anybody looks at that, and if I go and betray you right now, Brannon, today, and then I turn around and I'm like, well, it's on you. Like, get over it. You're just probably going to have your own process of going, well, I'm still kind of pissed at you, Tyler, and I don't know that I want to trust you, and I'm definitely going to have different boundaries. At the end of the day, your pathway forward is that you're going to have to look yourself in the mirror and go, how long do I want to hold on to this resentment for? And then you're gonna have to decide what it takes to let go of that resentment. And that might mean either more boundaries with me or future discussion or more interaction with me, or it might be letting me go.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it's on you to let go of your resentment. The resentment that you would carry, whether that's days or weeks or months or even years, the thing that I did to you happened once and you reperpetrated it yourself on yourself thousands of times more in the years to come.
Yep. Yep.
And you're the one who has the power to do the work to let that go.
Yep. It's, when you hand all the cards over to your partner and then you do this song and dance to try to get them to do this or do that or change this or change that, it takes accountability and vulnerability away from you. I don't really need to do my work. I can just, point that they have all the cards over there.
It also takes away opportunity. I think that's what you've been trying to say all along, Brannon, is it takes away opportunity, the opportunity for growth, for self-discovery, for new life, for wholehearted living. I look at like so many of these marriages that I deal with right now that stay. I look at couples and that I work with, and so many of them, they settle. They settle for the safety of not getting burned. And then they go for the next 20 or 30 years, just kind of being friends enough and safe enough and boundaried enough to not act out and to not have the betrayal anymore. But they don't really take the risk and do the work, the intense hard work of going, yeah, but we want to build something that is truly great, like wholehearted love. And it's, go ahead, Brannon.
Well, I just to tack on to what you're saying, it's like I believe God gives you opportunities to deal with your own fears and your own wounds in order to get you to that place where you can create those amazing relationships. I believe the things that have happened to you, and this is just Brannon's beliefs here, they're not by happenstance, they're by design. And I know that's hard to hear if you've been betrayed, because it's like, you're kidding me. God has like put this in front of me. I believe yes. And now you have the opportunity to look closely at this and say, okay, what is happening here? What do I get to learn? How do I get to grow? Tyler, I think of you, and not to go into details, but the trauma you had in high school, with the horrific event that you went through, like there's probably still some residual of like, why? I don't understand that. But you could probably look back and say, I can understand it now some. I can get why I had to go through something like that in order to bless my life now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to use that example, that's fine. Most people know I was a sophomore in high school when one of my best friends fell off a school roof, and I actually happened to feel responsible for it because I'd felt like an impression not to go up there that night, and I didn't say anything because I was the youngest one and didn't want to be left out. And then I was left to do the first aid on him all by myself, and then he died the next morning. And For years, Brannon, for years, questions with God, questions about myself, self-doubt, shame, responsibility, all of that stuff. And I hate to say it now, but I look at it now with the eyes that I currently have and the work that's been done on it. And this is the way trauma works, is that trauma has, if I'm going to go through the hell of healing from trauma, for me, there has to be a meaning in all of it. And one of my best friends who passed away when I was in high school was actually pivotal in molding me into the life purpose that I currently have as a result of the hell that I went through, where I was confused and depressed to the point of suicide almost. And now I can look at him and go, well, if it had to happen, which I'm sad and I still don't fully understand why and how it all had to happen, but if it had to happen, I happen to believe in a higher power that can make things meaningful and purposeful and give opportunity for growth. And I can honor the life of my friend now by agreeing with God on who he's created me to be. And
through those painful experiences.
Through the painful experiences, I still have it etched into my mind the day after when I got the phone call that he died. I drove up to his home and knocked on the door, and his mom opened the door and fell into my arms and started sobbing. And I went back there every year for the next number of years while I lived down in Salt Lake. Every year on the death of his dad, I'd go knock on the door, and every single year she'd open the door and the same thing would happen. So I'm getting emotional right now talking about it. She would open the door and she'd smile at me, and then she would cry, and she would rush into my arms and she'd hold me, and she would say, "Oh, it just feels so good to feel what it would be like to hold a boy the same age as mine." And that did something to me, Brannon. It taught me how to stand in the place of offering empathy, holding space, wanting to be the person who could receive and help people through their pain. It forced me into places where I had to do some counseling as a result of everything I went through. And in that counseling, I started to go, man, I could do this. I could help people. This is maybe something I should be doing with my life. And it taught me a lot of things, that I'm the kind of person who stays in crisis. I'm not the kind of person who runs away. I'm the kind of person who rushes into the first date instead of running away. And like, all of that has been pivotal in creating my identity between me and God.
Right.
And so I'm probably giving more information than you even wanted to, Brannon, but like, that's the principle here. Is it's an opportunity. I heard this quote once in our relationships, especially in our marriages, that every single thing your partner does, just think of it from this lens for just a second. We can argue about it and come up with other metaphors later, but think about it. Every single thing your partner does is either an act of love or a cry for help.
Mm-hmm. Everything. So if my wife goes out and cheats on me today, if I could only view it from the lens of that was either an act of love or a cry for help, I'll probably default to cry for help first on that one. But maybe it is an act of love. I don't know. But if I could only view it from that perspective, it would empower me to see it differently. And then I could make choices based off of that. And instead of taking it all personally, I'd go pursue what's the cry for help here, and let's figure this out. And that might include new boundaries and serious talks about my own feelings, but that's a cry for help or an act of love. And not about you, though. It doesn't define you. It's about her and what's going on with her. Now, the pain of it, what you would feel that pain. And so there's this thing about I can own the pain. I can use that pain for purpose. And in a way, what is God doing through me with this pain? But I'm also not so over connected to my partner that I have to try to figure out how to control them in order to be okay. So this is a cry for help from her end, right? Like, that's all this is. Now, what does that mean? How do we navigate that? You kind of go from there, but you start with that interdependency of I'm okay unto myself, I can deal with grief, I can deal with pain, I can step into this process, I can learn from it, and I will come out better on the other end, no matter what happens here, right? And the reason I bring up your example, Tyler, is, we hear a lot of times like, well, you guys just don't get it. Like you haven't been through what I've been through. You haven't been married to my spouse. You haven't been, and all that's true. All that's absolutely true. Nobody's been in your marriage but everybody has their own unique experiences. The principle holds true. Regardless of your unique experiences, the principle of growth, of gratitude, of acceptance versus of resistance, sabotage, yielding your power, those principles hold true no matter what you've been through. And that's why I wanted to bring up such a unique, hard, difficult trauma that you've been through, Tyler, because you have turned that into purpose. You have stepped into that pain, and I've seen you go through it in different ways. I saw you in your depression. I saw you when you were resistant to it. I saw you when you couldn't make sense of it. And I've seen the process unfold over time. So that's the principle that we wanted to flush out. When we're talking about, hey, don't sabotage recovery, it goes so much deeper.
Yeah, and as you're talking, Brannon, I think I want to just say to anyone who's listening, who's feeling things right now, that using that example you just did with me is helping me also relate to the fact that there is a process that often gets worked too. It's not overnight. Like there is a time when most of us are going to be in denial, and we're going to be in like bargaining, and we're going to fight with the reality of things, because that's what we do as human beings. What we're talking about is that eventually the pathway forward is to do all of that grieving, fight with it, be in denial, whatever you need to, but eventually the pathway forward will be through acceptance and surrender.
Yeah.
Surrender to things as they are. And when I've accepted things as they are, I have the power to make choices in reality.
Yeah.
And until I can get to that reality, I might be actually slamming my own fingers in the door and then being mad that my fingers hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I hope, as we've talked about this, Tyler, it's gotten people to stop and take inventory of themselves, of like, how am I working my recovery? What part of the grieving process am I in? Am I stuck? Have we been going through the same thing again and again and again for years now?
What would be the next steps? The next steps would be,
how do I not sabotage this anymore? How do we move forward? Because I'm ready to move beyond this part of the process of healing. All right, Tyler.
Really good, Brannon. Thank you. Thank you to our listeners for being here with us. We love having you here. We love your feedback. And till next time, you guys.
Keep on keeping on.